Episode 15 and 16 of Season 2 of The Bad Batch has just dropped and we need to break it down, so let's get straight into it. We kick off the episode on Pabu where the team are trying to figure out the location of Hemlock's base and where he might be holding Crosshair and the other cloned prisoners. Echo brings in new intel that Hemlock will be attending a summit on Iradu and Tarkin's compound. Iradu is in fact Tarkin's homeworld and was very much known for its martial culture, in part due to the constant attack from pirates. The team devises a plan to get ready to set off, but before they do, Phee swings by to say goodbye and we get a sweet moment between Tech and her, where we see Tech unsure of how to communicate his emotions as the two are clearly romantically interested in each other. But in retrospect, this scene was probably more heartbreaking than anything. Hemlock lands at Tarkin's compound and is greeted by stormtroopers in distinctive red and white armor. These are likely the early iterations of the Imperial shock trooper. While they were typically deployed on Coruscant, they do at times act as bodyguards to high-ranking officials. Hemlock enters the meeting room where we can see several senior officials, but more on that later. The Bad Batch arrive on Iradu using a clearance code and they manage to pass through, with their ship being designated Vessel 1143. The team lands and Omega asks what sort of approach they are making, asking if they will make a sidewind approach, the very same one that they made on Rexus, referencing their mission to rescue Senator Avi Singh in Season 1. But we are then told that the approach won't work anymore as the Empire has since adapted by changing their protocols. The team figures out that they need to ride one of these sky rail cars to their destination. Tech manages to deactivate the sensor and they all hitch a ride. As the Bad Batch make their approach, notice that they've started to use the normal settings on their blasters instead of stun, highlighting the gravity of the situation and that they're not taking any chances. We cut to the summit and Tarkin informs the others that their key primary objective is to unify the galaxy and to keep dissent down, which in other words means that they're in the process of consolidating the Empire's power. Hemlock talks about his advanced science division and his progress on the cloning project, and he proposes that the decommissioned clones be used as test subjects. One of the Imperials asks if clones have agreed to the experimentation, and this here is Hurst Ramodi. First seen in A New Hope, Hurst is actually from the planet Virujansi. Hurst was one of the first generals of the Empire and worked very closely with Tarkin, something which we saw in Rogue One. Another Imperial points out that based on his experience, the clones are loyal soldiers, indicating his discomfort with the idea of just simply getting rid of them. This right here is Barton Coburn. He previously served as an Admiral of the Republic and served under the command of Jedi Master Plo Koon. He was also in charge of the mission to free Tarkin and Jedi Master Peel from the separatist prison called the Citadel on Lola Sayu. And it's really interesting to see that even within the Imperial military structure, not everyone is super convinced that getting rid of the clones is the right option. Especially given the proven success of the clones during the Clone Wars, this does make a whole lot of sense, especially for those who have fought on the front lines. Tarkin disagrees and states that the clones are unpredictable and too individualistic for his liking, a sentiment which he also expressed while being rescued from the Citadel. Coburn cautions the possibility of a clone uprising should they find out about their brothers being experimented on, once again hinting at the possibility of a clone rebellion somewhere down the line. We then switch focus to Orson Krennic, the very same one that we saw in Rogue One. There is also a reference to Project Stardust, which is the code name for the Death Star, the reason of which was also revealed in the film. The team make their way further into the base and manage to plant a homing beacon on Hemlock's ship, but a mouse droid almost blows Omega's cover, but Wrecker manages to destroy it. The control room is then alerted to all the commotion and the lieutenant in charge by the name of Mailer is an entirely new character. During the mission, the team encounters a few discrepancies that Tech and Hunter decide to check out. Tech finds another offline camera and in his display we see some Arbesh, which translates to analyzing camera is offline, no activity detected. Tech and Hunter end up finding explosives and they end up encountering Saw Gerrera. Saw Gerrera is of course the leader of the Partisans and was well known for his extreme views and willingness to use extreme tactics to get what he wanted, an element of which has been explored many times in the various Star Wars shows and Rogue One. Both sides try to negotiate as Saw's intent to blow up the base comes at the cost of the team finding the location of Hemlock's base, and Saw Gerrera's refusal to see reason is really just reflective of his nature. The conversation gets interrupted and we get some really amazing tracking shots. Tarkin is alerted to the presence of the insurgents and notice how as all the other members suddenly become anxious about the situation, only two stay seated, that being Tarkin and Hemlock. And what this might suggest is that Hemlock is likely just as self-assured as Tarkin and potentially just as dangerous. Saw Gerrera manages to escape and ends up blowing up the base, a decision which severely compromises the Bad Batch's plan to escape. The explosion didn't really do all that much damage, but it most certainly did damage Tarkin's ego. The Bad Batch end up getting stuck, and on we go to the final episode, episode 16. Tech decides to head to a terminal to attempt a power reboot, and Tarkin orders air support to shoot down the rail cars. Tech manages to get things going in a nick of time, but the V-Wings end up derailing one of the carriages, which causes Tech to dangle. And you can really feel the desperation throughout the entire scene. It almost feels claustrophobic when you realize that the team are sitting ducks and there's very little chance for escape. It's a very well executed scene that really reminds you of the stakes, but it also really culminates in Tech's sacrifice as he executes Plan 99. Now, not sure if this was intentional or not, but the fact that the numbers 99 are the opposite to 66 might say a lot about its intention. While Order 66 was designed to remove Palpatine's enemies and destroy the Jedi, Plan 99 was designed to sacrifice oneself in order to save others, namely the Squad. I think it's a pretty neat juxtaposition that not only reiterates the differing intentions of both plans, but also echoes the official name of the Squad, which is Clone Force 99, with the numbers 99 moving in the opposite direction as 66, symbolizing the team's decision to move away from the Empire and to determine their own fates. And while some people have pointed out that Tech was going to die and that they've seen it coming from a mile away, I don't think it diminishes its importance. I, for one, didn't really see it coming, but Tech's death means a whole lot more than a surprise for the audience. In fact, right before he sacrifices himself, he says,
"When have we ever followed orders?"
which is a culmination of the thematic statement of the entire season. At the end of the day, it's all about the clones choosing their own fates and destinies, making decisions not because they were ordered to, which is precisely what Tech chose to do here. The team make their way back to Ord Mantell as Omega is hurt, and thinking that AZ, the former medical droid, can help the team, they all end up back at Sid's. Omega wakes up and realizes that Tech is really gone for good, and Hunter introduces the possibility that Pabu might be a good home for them. But before anything can be set in stone, it is revealed that Sid has betrayed them, meaning that the warning Malegi gave the Bad Batch in a previous episode was true. And granted, the decision to return to Sid after all that has happened between them probably wasn't the smartest idea, and frankly, flying back to Pabu for medical attention would probably have been a better option. But at the same time, you can't really fault them too much as things were desperate and it's unlikely that they were in the right state of mind to think straight. The commandos capture Wrecker and Hunter, and despite Hunter telling Omega to run, she decides to go back for them. Hemlock shows Hunter Tech's goggles, seemingly confirming his death. Omega tries to stop Hemlock, but she ends up getting captured by none other than Scorch himself. Echo helps free Hunter and Wrecker, but unfortunately they are too late to save Omega. Also, if you pay close attention, you can actually notice a slight mistake in the color of lasers. When either Hunter or Wrecker shoot their lasers, the color seems to constantly switch between red and blue. It's an inconsistency that you will only notice if you pay very close attention. The team managed to get out, but it's the team's biggest defeat so far. With no knowledge of where Omega is or how to get her back, things look really bad. But I have to say, an angry, determined Hunter is a force to be reckoned with. Omega is delivered to Tantus, where she reunites with Nala Se. Hemlock uses Omega to threaten Nala Se, but she doesn't really believe that what the Emperor wants is possible, believing that creating a clone capable of using the Force and hosting the Emperor's spirit is an impossible task, a reality which does happen further down the line. Omega finds an unconscious Crosshair, and Omega meets with Emery, who then reveals that she too is also a clone, making her Omega's sister. And honestly, I was really kicking myself for not realizing this sooner. I clocked the fact that both characters had the same accent in the previous episode, but I really didn't put the two and two together. So this was a really nice reveal and twist that I definitely didn't see coming. And much of Season 2 and this finale in particular really echoes the story beats of The Empire Strikes Back. While Season 1 was a new hope for the show, Season 2 is definitely Empire. The sad ending and the bad guys winning at the end really mirror the ending of Empire, with Han being captured and Luke and Leia at their lowest point. So the same goes for the Bad Batch as well, and on top of that, the twist in Revelation that Omega has a sister is effectively the same twist of the I am your father scene. So kudos to the writers for pulling this off. That more or less concludes the breakdown for episode 15 and 16 of the season 2 of the Bad Batch, so let me know what you think in the comments down below. Be sure to like and subscribe, and I will see you in the next one. I am the Lost Acolyte,
and I have spoken.